Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be talking about Star Citizen running on console. Not just next-gen consoles, but current-gen consoles. Now before you guys go crazy in the comments section, I have a bunch of specs and some comparisons that you guys might want to consider before you rage in the comment section. Now if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, continue the discussion in the comment section, and if you subscribe, you'll get all of my videos as soon as they become available. If you're thinking about playing Star Citizen, click the link in the description to get 5,000 UEC. The promo code is also in the bottom left side of the screen. Star Citizen was originally advertised as like a PC revival game back in 2012. This was at a time where consoles, mobile games, and phones, they were really on the rise. But that was over 7 years ago. Almost 8 years later, now we're sitting here in 2020. Consoles are bigger than ever, phones are becoming number one, PC is kind of where it was. One thing that us PC gamers always overlook is the fact that console was never really behind PC. Of course, PC you had better graphics, better textures, higher FPS, but consoles were never really that far behind. I mean, when Halo came out on Xbox, what PC game was comparable as far as graphics? Or going back a little further, when Nintendo 64 came out, what game was comparable on PC to Zelda or Mario 64? What about Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast? What game was really comparable? I think that as fanboys, we all get a little too overzealous. PlayStation versus Xbox, PC versus console. Going forward, it looks like everyone's working to bridge this gap, and it's going to be more about where you're comfortable and less about what platform you're playing on. Soon we'll have 5G internet. That internet has a latency that's so low, it'll bridge the gap with people playing games online using these PC streaming services that allow you to play a PC game on your phone or your tablet. So let's get into the specs. We're going to start with the Xbox One X, the PlayStation 4 Pro, and the Nintendo Switch. The Xbox One X, the PlayStation 4 Pro, and the Nintendo Switch all share an octa-core processor. The Nintendo Switch is about half as powerful. Graphically, the Nintendo Switch is about a fourth as powerful. So we're not really going to talk too much about the Switch, but just for giggles, I got the specs for that too. For the Switch, the processor is comparable to an AMD Athlon X4 5350, which has a base clock of 2.05 GHz. Graphically, it's comparable to a 1030 GT. Looking at these specs when compared to playing Star Citizen, it would make the game pretty much unplayable. Maybe if Star Citizen did some unimaginable level of optimization using Vulkan combined with server-side and client-side technologies. Maybe if there was a super low setting, the Switch might be capable of running, I don't know, 15 FPS if you were in space and no one was around. But I highly doubt anyone playing Star Citizen would have a spec sheet that low. So we're just going to stick to the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. Now the Xbox One X has an 8-core CPU running at 2.3 GHz, codenamed Jaguar. It has a GPU with 6 teraflops of power, 12 gigs of RAM that are split between the system and the games. If we were to take these specs and create a PC that had comparable performance, we would be looking at AMD's FX processor series, 8300 or the 8350. At the time, this was considered the way to build a system, a PC system that was comparable to an Xbox. I also looked at processors like the Ryzen 3 1300 and the Ryzen 3 2200G, but they just seemed a little too powerful in the test compared to the Xbox. Now the popular YouTube channel Linus Tech Tips actually compared the Xbox One X to the i3-7100, which is 2-core 4-thread. Even though the i3-7100 and 8350 have similar performance, I would still favor the AMD chip as the better comparison. Not only is it 8-core, but it's made from AMD. We also have to take into consideration that they aren't comparing Xbox to PC the same way. Now, even though this processor is clocked at 4 GHz, it still has that same profile of performance compared to the 8-core and the Xbox One X. This is also theoretical, so it's not an exact science. You also have to consider the fact that gaming hardware is specific to gaming and PC hardware is computing much more. Now, to get to the 6 teraflop graphic capability of the Xbox One X, we need to look at the RX 580 as a graphics card. I was surprised when I researched the Xbox One X and found that the comparison was to the 8350 because I had this processor before. When I had my 8350 system, I was playing Star Citizen, but I had a 260X, an R7 260X. Now with the R7 260X, I remember getting 20 to 40 FPS. I would get 40 FPS in Arena Commander sometimes, but that was like after a fresh restart and I just loaded the game up. It would run kinda okay, and then it would go down to like a 30, 20-ish, 30 FPS level. At the time, this is all the computer I had, but to me, it was still playable. I enjoyed playing. But we're looking at an Xbox One X comparison of a 580, an RX 580. The 580 is 6.1 teraflops, the 260 is 1.9 teraflops. Now, knowing the 8350's processing power very well, I know that the 8350 would be a bottleneck for the 580. So even installing the 580 on this system, you would probably only get to 40 FPS. It would be a more stable, consistent 40 FPS, but that would be the height of your gaming, 40 FPS. The current gen consoles target 30 FPS most times, so this number is still feasible. Even without full iteration of SOCs and optimization on the server side for Star Citizen, if I had upgraded that 8350 system to a 580, I have no doubts that Star Citizen would play without any major issues other than a lower FPS. By lower, I mean 30 or 40 FPS, and I believe that once Star Citizen is properly optimized, that system might get 60. Now that 60 might not be all the time, but the system would definitely hit 60 in space. Now that we have a hypothetical Xbox One X out of the way, let's head over to PS4, the PS4 Pro. PS4 is going to be a little easier to digest. The PS4 is clocked at 2.1 GHz, so that would put us at the 8300 level. So we're looking at the AMD FX 8300 clocked at 3.3 GHz. Slightly slower than the 8350 or the Xbox's Jaguar that's clocked at 2.3 GHz. Graphically, we're looking at a RX 470 clocked at 4.9 teraflops. The PS4 has 4.2 teraflops. This 470 has 4.9. It's like the closest thing that we can get as far as capabilities, graphically, and the technology. So comparing the PS4 to a PC, we're looking at less CPU, less GPU power. Looking at the R7 260X that I had, we're still doubling the teraflops. This system should still hit 30 FPS. Now, I'm not making the argument that they need to focus on porting the game to console. I'm not making that argument at all. I'm just saying compared to the specs, it can run on console, current gen, and we haven't even talked about next gen yet. Now, if I was to make that argument, I would have you guys note the sales would double at least, if not triple or quadruple. When the popular MMO Elder Scrolls went to console, their player base tripled. GTA 5 had a PS4 player base that was 5 times the PC player base. Now, GTA 5 released first on console, then it went to PC. However, when it went to PC, the player base didn't double or triple. However, it hit its peak when it was on all 3 systems. My fascination with Star Citizen being on console did not come from looking at current gen specs. When I saw the specs for the next gen consoles, that's what piqued my interest. But I want you guys to keep in mind, if Star Citizen was on console, the universe would be that much more accessible. That means bigger events and more players. It would actually be better all around if the game went to console. The game is even optimized for controller, flight sticks, keyboard and mouse, and they've been focusing on multiple input method optimizations. People have even been playing the game on tablets using those PC streaming services. Now maybe you wouldn't engage in hardcore FPS combat on a tablet, but you could easily plan, strategize, trade from a tablet. And this isn't hypothetical, people are doing this now. And this is what has me so excited. It's the accessibility, being able to play with more people. I've always told my friends I didn't want to play Star Citizen alone. PC's market share is dropping. We always have a problem adapting to the future. If we want gaming to survive, we're going to have to adapt. How many people can really afford a $1,500 to $3,000 computer just for Star Citizen. I think a great example of how the future is going to be for gaming is the movie Ready Player One. That movie really showed how gaming is going to be in the future, and we're not really far away from how they adapted the technology so that people could play on their mobile phones outside or on advanced machines. Even though there were more advanced ways to play, it seemed like no matter which way you played, you would have the same experience. Some people had advanced haptic feedback and others didn't, but the game was still the same. Another thing to note is the amount of people that were in the universe. That's what really gets me excited about Star Citizen being on multiple platforms. With Star Citizen, the more the merrier. This brings me to the feature presentation. Next gen consoles and their specs, or their leaked specs. Now, I would take all of these specs with a grain of salt. I don't know if they're in proper context. We don't know the processor speed, but we do know the processor's type, and we know the graphical capabilities that are rumored. Specifically, note the rumored. There are certain people who have confirmed this information using their sources as being from an AMD archive, but still, the context is key. This could be past iterations, it could be a botched project. However, what's exciting is that if the specs are anywhere in the ballpark of what's rumored, these systems will be able to produce graphics very close to high-end PC. First up, we have the Xbox Series X. We know what it's going to look like, and we have an idea of what the graphics can produce. Let's dive into this. So for the Xbox, the CPU is a Zen 2 8-core processor with hyper-threading or multi-threading. That means that each of the 8 cores has 2 threads. Since we don't have a clock speed, I can't really place this CPU, but I'm gonna guess on the low end that this CPU is very similar to a Ryzen 7 2700 or a 2700X. We're gonna go safe, we're gonna say the 2700. The GPU is rumored to have 3584 shaders, 56 compute units, 12 teraflops clocked at 1.7 gigahertz with a memory bandwidth of 560 gigabytes per second. So the closest comparison GPU wise would be one of the new Navi cards. Since they are unreleased, we have to find something comparable that's out today. So after a bit of research, we found that the Navi GPUs are comparable to the 2080 Super, 2070 Super. In fact, the teraflops are very similar. Both systems will come with SSDs, which eliminates the hardware, the hard drive issues. So now we have a comparison of raw performance. Now, unfortunately, my channel isn't big enough and I don't have the type of backing to put together a system with a R7 2700 or a 2700X with a 2080 or 2070 Super. We do, however, have YouTube, and hopefully someone on YouTube has a comparable system. And they play Star Citizen. So looking around on YouTube, I found a system that was even less powerful. The R7 2700X with a 1070 Ti playing Star Citizen. Let's see how it looks. There's a few very interesting things about this video. Not only is the computer running a less optimized version of Star Citizen from 2018, but it's also running a higher resolution with a lower quality graphics card. This system is running a 1070 Ti, which has 8.2 teraflops of power. The Xbox Series X is rumored to have 12. As you guys can see, the game is clearly playable. So in conclusion, I believe that Star Citizen could run not only on current gen systems, but definitely on next gen. This would be a very exciting development if Star Citizen decided to branch out and go to console. It would most likely double the funding, double the player count, and it would be that much more fun with all those extra players. Keep this in mind. When you play Star Citizen today, you're probably playing with people with less than adequate hardware. Those players aren't lowering our quality any more than console players would. The funny thing about these next-gen consoles is that their specs are going to put a lot of our computers to shame. And not only that, but there's a ton of room for optimization. But I digress. If you guys enjoyed this video, drop a like. Feel free to share and comment. Let me know what you guys think. If you want to see my videos as soon as they're available, subscribe and hit that notification bell. All in all, as a community, let's try to stay positive and make Star Citizen one of the best gaming experiences ever. As always, eyes up, fly safe. The hidden word is dabble.